Hello friends, 21 days on only juice, and in this video I'm going to review the entire process. So 21 days ago, decided that I was going to embark on yet another fast, as it's been many over the past few years or so, as I've deepened into this detoxification and fasting and really moving to a more pranic breatharian way of living, as I view that to be the natural state of the body that we inhabit, where we naturally do have the ability to live off of more than just food and water, recognizing that we get energy from multiple sources, that being nature, the breath, the sun, the earth, the water, the real hydration of true cellular hydration, and naturally the source of energy in which we exist from. And so the entire process over this past 8 years, really, that started from moving from meats and typical foods of that nature to vegetarian for 2 years, to veganism for a good 4 years, and then in and out of raw and fruitarian, and now moving more into more liquids, a continuous process of fruits and liquids, mono meals, and then naturally this 21-day fast that has just come to this point today, has been that process of really coming into what it means to be one who's living on more than just the nutrients that come from food. And so many of you have seen the picture that I posted not too long ago about the changing in my eyes through using the tool of iridology, recognizing that the majority of us actually are only meant to either have brown eyes or blue eyes, and in my case I believe that my eyes are naturally blue, though most of my life they've been hazel or brown. And as you can see, the shifting in the iridology picture of the iris, that the changing of the color is coming from the releasing of toxicity, and we can see little spots of blue and green that come through, and I'm about to do another series of pictures to see the even more recent changes. And so, fasting has not been necessarily a new thing. I've gone through many fasts and gone through, various phases of releasing parasites and mucoid plaque, really changing and healing all elements of various elements of mental health issues. Some that were far more extreme than others. Also a spinal issue that I've had since I was 14 or 15, about 3 disc herniations that really has left me for the past 14 years with a constant daily experience of even just minimal or more extreme levels of pain. Experiences obviously of filled with skin issues of acne, asthma, eczema, dandruff, long periods of constipation and IBS. Really quite a ringer of health issues over the past few years, as much of us really have experienced. And so the detoxification path really has supported in healing the majority of these things and bringing to balance a lot of these things in conjunction with the holistic wheel of emotional healing, energetic healing, meditation and clearing of the mind, reorienting the mind patterns, which really has been a process of just simply recognizing that healing is a multifaceted approach. And so anyone watching this video, this is not a recommendation for you in the sense that you need to go on a juice fast. I do believe that fasting is the supreme healer, though it has to be done mindfully and gently and done in a way where we're taking in the full holistic approach of what it means to fast, what it means to heal, what it means to really come into a complete reorientation of the body and a complete rebirth of the body, because our cells do regenerate every 7 years. And so the process of detox really is that type of length. It's not just a small juice cleanse, it's not just any of that. It's a full and complete shift, and with different intensities for different people and different steps for different people. And so I've outlined this in a recent article, which you can see in the link in the description, and some of the other videos on this channel. But now to get into this fast in particular, maybe what are some of the systems I'm using, what is the approach, what juice I've been drinking, and these types of things. Naturally, I've learned from many different teachers. Dr. Morse has been a primary source of learning, specifically in more of the fruit-based fasting protocols, and then that extends into teachers like Dr. Sebi, Arnold Ehret, more recently, more modern teachers like Alexandra Cousins, who I've done an interview with, and also other teachers that are more on the breatharian path. Elatom Elamim is a great teacher who's had some great perspectives, and also Dan, the Life Regenerator on YouTube. These are all individuals in which I've learned from. Lastly, also Gino from the Master Fast system, who has a bit of a different perspective than the majority. Most of them, I feel, are focused on fruit, juicing, water fasting. Gino is a little bit more focused on his Master Fast system, which is using 108 days. The main Master Fast system is 108 days of cooked grape juice, using in conjunction dry fasting, enemas, herbs, and plasma pudding, which is a specific pudding that coats the intestinal tract that supports in releasing mucoid plaque. And so I've basically kind of been in and out of all of these systems and used varying principles and kind of scanned them through the intuition of my body. And I really recognize that there is validity in all of these different systems because they've all been supportive in healing in various ways. But I've recognized that, a lot of it really doesn't necessarily come down to the food or what's being consumed. It's more about what's not being consumed, and the periods of dry fasting, the periods of really coming into communion with the inner energy source and nature, and which is the primary source of our energy and our sustenance and our ability to live and thrive. And so what I've recognized over this past 21 days, where I started with mainly grape juice, mainly the cooked grape juice, and then moving into more raw grape juice and mixing the two, which I found they definitely worked in different ways. That's also using lemons to help with the astringency of the detoxification intensity. And then after about 11 days, I think it was around then, I moved into being a bit more creative with moving into more watermelon and lemon, and then also orange juice with a couple days of a couple other things, but mainly those three. And, they all kind of reacted in different ways. I've recognized really that, though, as I mentioned, the intermittent daily dry fasting of anywhere from 12 to 20 plus hours has really been the core of the game changer. And really you feel the depth of the healing that occurs in those periods. The process of going into dry fasting, at least for also one who has done a lot of emotional healing work, really becomes a very blissful experience. So in the days in which I increased this, so going into more 24 hours, around 24 hours, and desiring to go more now as we move forward, there naturally was a deepening into a very orgasmic type of experience, where I touched on the connection between food and sexual energy, where because they're both inhabiting the sacral chakra, our relationship with food, our relationship with everything, sex, food, relationships, people, all of it, we recognize that, these energies are very intertwined. And so as we begin to really deepen into the depth of the healing process on a full spectrum level, what it really opens up as a doorway is a sexual experience in which is not necessarily focused on somebody else or some outward experience, physical nature. Although it's a physical experience, it's focused on an energetic orgasm, which can happen in many ways. I usually experience it starting in the gut, then moving into the heart and into the brain, where it really encapsulates your entirety of your body, and it goes quite consistently throughout the day, where as long as you're not, you're monitoring your thoughts and you're kind of monitoring your energies, not getting involved in things that are not in alignment, then you'll find that there will be a deepening process of this orgasmic expansion. And again, the more that there is a cleaned out, physical system, then naturally we move into the mental system and emotional system, which is much of the healing work that I've been focused on with individuals that I coach and I facilitate for. That process is really what opens up a deepened blissfulness and orgasmic type of experience that happens, like I mentioned, really almost consistently. And so as that energy starts to accrete, which means increase and be cultivated in the body, with other forms of practice like movement meditation and Tai Chi forms of energy cultivation practices, what we will find is that the the intensity of the detox may increase, but this is just a reflection of what's happening in the energetic body. And so, physically, I didn't actually experience much detoxification symptoms. There was a couple of days where when I did do this dry fasting and I was experiencing these very blissful periods, I would go through a bit of sweating. My body was kind of just adapting to it. There's a bit of release happening there. Naturally, even 21 days later, there's still a passing of physical fecal matter from the digestion tract. This is surprising for most people, but this is how intense the amount of buildup most of us have in the body. And so I noticed that, especially when I went to the cooked grape juice, that's really when things really cleansed out. And I would pull out, things that are just detaching from the intestinal wall, from the stomach, from the bowels, from the colon. Also a lot of mucus, a lot of oils. Oils stay in the body for a long time. So those end up start coming out. And then, any other remnants, mucoid plaque and parasites. I didn't see too much of that this time. I've seen it more in the past. But that's been, the core of the focus, at least like physically based. People ask a lot about weight. Am I losing weight? Am I losing muscle? Naturally, yes, I've lost a little bit of weight, but I've noticed that if I just keep up in my exercise, my workouts, the Tai Chi, the movement, I keep the size, the blood's still moving. I still look, fairly decent. Definitely not putting on muscle, but I do feel like that's still a potential even during this process. And it's something I'm going to continue to explore as I look to continue to just strengthen the body, as that's a natural intention that's currently happening. And so 21 days later, the flow still continues. Obviously, many of you are probably wondering, is it done? Have I broken fast? And the answer is no. I will continue. And I didn't set a goal of the amount of days I wanted to do from the beginning, because I've noticed over the past 6 months, this process of really becoming incremental, gentle, mindful, day by day, is really what the fasting process is pointing to. As long as we stay in the rigidity of it needing to be a certain period, having very specific, rigid rules and laws, we get out of the intuitive nature of what the body is really calling for and how the body is flowing. And this is what I will continue to do, while still staying respecting of those who have walked before me, these other teachers and mentors who have done this for far longer than I have. It's respecting that they likely have a lot of knowledge, and that's why I've learned from them. And at the same time, trusting that there is an inner process happening that nobody but the intuition that flows through this body can speak to. And so that will continue the listening of what I feel is most called, and the listening to other teachers and mentors and information that is priceless in this journey, because it really is about keeping a positive environment, being in the right conditions, with the right people. For me, I have a lifestyle where I'm an entrepreneur. I do coaching and a lot of different work with events and things that I create based on my own flow. So I'm not confined to a typical job and these things. So I can really create my lifestyle in the way that I see fit. And that's what I have continued to do during this fast, and what we've done, all summer up here, doing Tai Chi and music and expression and connection with people that are nourishing. So it becomes easier to go through the entirety of this process. So, some funny notes, the food and sexual conversation has been a key one. And sexually, it's easier to be celibate. Sex drive is not high, although I still experience orgasmic flows and, deep in intimacy with people. There isn't so much the desire to project that outwardly or to physically manifest that. And that feels great, because energies continue to cultivate. And, I put out some cultivation practices of meditation and Tai Chi, which I feel are very valuable, that you can take a look at. One thing that I've noticed that's been funny is I've been drawn to watching, things like pizza food reviews and things like this, which is, just a product of the food porn type of industry that we exist in. There is such thing as food porn, and it does, I believe it does very much connect to the traditional pornography world, where we are watching things to fulfill these inner desires through this form of entertainment and, observation. And so we have to be mindful of how that is affecting us, because our mind many times can't tell the difference between what we're watching and what we're physically experiencing. So this is something that is an important thing to just explore and reflect upon. So I've been kind of minimizing this as it naturally occurs with awareness. And so another note is I have been taking some Dr. Morse herbs, some herbal teas and things like this at times. I'll probably increase this as we move forward, although I've been feeling quite good. So it's staying in its balance, and it will continue as it naturally unfolds. For those that are wanting to deepen into this process themselves, I always recommend to consult, the professional elements of your space, whether that's other doctors who are in this space or people that are able to guide. I am doing a number of guidance with specific people. My approach is really taking a full holistic measure of emotional healing and detox and knowing yourself through systems like human design and personality systems to really be able to take in the whole approach of your life, not just food, because it's a much bigger conversation than just food, though that is a foundational element. So each person has to take into respect their own individual intuition. This is not medical advice, certainly, but it is my share of what I feel I would say most people can consider and will consider at some point in their life, because it really is the natural path to come back to lightness, the art of subtraction, and the moving into your light body, your true energy signature, your true being, your true nature. That's what this is about. And so I hope this video is valuable and gives people a perspective of the full perspective of this process, really, because some people get into this for health reasons, other people get into in emergency situations. Some people want to connect spiritually to God, to their inner source, to nature. For me, it was all of the above, even the environment. There's a big conversation about climate change and the environment. And if the whole world was to fast for just a day, it'd be mind-blowing, the changes that we would experience and see quantifiably, scientifically, how this can affect our globe and our world in a much more powerful way. So I'm going to leave it at that. All of you can reach me through my website. There's tons of articles and resources that I'm putting out or linking to other people. YouTube and our internet is filled with resources, though I have a new Activation 101 program in which all of you can connect with that really is taking into account the ending energies of 2019 and as we move into 2020, which is going to be a profound year for all of us. So deep love to you. Be well on your path, and happy fasting.